Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to episode number
Two,
two.
two, two. Well,
Yeah,
pilot
baby.
episode one, episode two. We're doing these
Episode
things.
two. Episode two. Coming your way. Like it, dislike it. We're coming either way. Today, we'll talk about Burrito's Dog, Chad Barrett and David Horst, the two latest additions to Real Salt Lake, the preseason schedule, and what we expect to get out of it. Where should we get started?
I think you had people at Burrito's Dog, so give the people what they asked for.
Did you read the story?
I've read the story. I thought it was like one of those, like, I had to check the calendar. Like, this is an April Fool's joke. Like, Real Salt Lake social media is just on point. But it wasn't April the 1st. It was just a regular day in January, and it's one of those things. You're just like, his dog got cancer, so he bought out his he bought out his $1 million contract and left.
Well, he
It's
bought it out for pennies on the dollar. He didn't really pay millions of dollars, but he paid thousands of dollars. Why didn't he bring the dog here?
I don't know. It's maybe the dog couldn't travel because of the illness.
I feel
So
bad. I feel bad laughing about
right, we're gonna
a cancerous dog.
this is the episode where we start alienating just large chunks of RSL Nation.
Yeah, the
'Cause we're making fun
population
of.
who, the dog rights activist. That sounds bad. Everyone's a dog rights activist. This just sounds silly. Do you buy it? I mean, come on, man. Does
No,
he have a reason to
no.
lie?
I mean, I think you need to tell people the story here. I don't think everyone, for those of us that haven't read the story.
Well, the story is that first, when he first left, the story was that he had to leave because of family reasons. His family couldn't live here, they didn't like it. I've read similar stories from the front office as well, that him requesting to leave was absolutely no surprise to anyone. They had many conversations over many months, and all indications were that sooner rather than later is what I meant to say, Mr. Burrito is going to get out of here. I don't even know what he makes down there. I completely tuned out when he left because this was right during that whole Javier Morales thing that was happening.
Right.
So I kind of tuned out of the whole story. I assumed it was in part because he saw how the team treated Javi Morales. But the story was family reasons, which we get all the time. I mean, every politician that has ever office left office for family reasons, right? They all
Right.
actually, they didn't want their affairs to go public or whatever. But the whole family reason is the oldest oldest excuse in the book. So he could have just left it there. There was absolutely no need. I'm not even sure how the conversation came about. I saw the interview, but I don't speak Spanish. Made a mistake there. Should learn Spanish. And the story basically goes, for some reason, he said he had to leave MLS because his dog had cancer. Where that came out of, I have no idea. Um, he said some other things, but it doesn't matter what else you say in an interview. When you say I left a multi-million-dollar contract on the table because my dog had cancer, no one's going to pay attention to anything else you say.
Right. Right. It's the headline right there. It's the gotcha journalism of the 21st century.
Yeah, the gotcha journalism with your questions and your follow-up questions.
And your cancerous dogs. No, I mean, I think among the RSL faithful, those that consumed every piece of media in the off season, there was a pretty much a universal kind of belief that Burrito's wife, and specifically his wife, but his children to some extent, were miserable here. You get culture shock, and Utah isn't South America by any stretch of the imagination. And
Parts of Utah feel like South America, for the better or
sure,
for the best.
sure. But I think it's one of those things where no one comes here with the expectation that it's not going to work out. I mean, they like bought a house and cars and signed their kids up for school. Like, it's not a thing where you're just like, hey, we're going to show up and we're going to assume it doesn't work out. So, I think you're right about the talks that basically occurred, over over the tail end of the Burrito saga. And I think there's a belief among some of the more passionate RSL fandom members that Burrito's wife made him leave,
Yes.
and I think there was that it's all her fault, and I think maybe the cancer dog story is Burrito's way of kind of shielding his family and protecting a significant other, and just being like, no, there were other reasons, it wasn't just her. I mean, I don't know.
I
if many
think he's
people know this.
embarrassed. I think he's embarrassed to admit his wife made him move. His wife made him leave a league, a team, a 7-figure contract.
Right.
I would be.
So the only reason I think the dog thing even like checks out remotely is who comes up with dog cancer. Like, that's a pretty messed up thing to like casually, blame it on. But also, like, I don't know if people remember, but they did a little Burrito highlight on MLS Soccer a while back.
Mhm.
And like, dude started like a dog orphanage, essentially. Like, I don't want to call it a pound because that wasn't it. It was like a rescue home for like lost. Like, he's super into the animals.
Dog
Like
thing.
him and
Right.
yeah, like back home, I guess him and his wife and family run like a dog shelter.
Mhm.
So he I think he's one of those people who like loves just dogs equally to humans. And that's the only reason I even like read the story. It's like, all right, Burrito's doing more things with dogs and he's curing dog cancer or something. And then the story just went a different direction than what I anticipated.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's I don't think Burrito left Real Salt Lake to go take care of his sick dog.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we agree. Almost feels a little bit. Remember the Fisher story back in a few years ago with the Jazz, when what's his name Fisher from the Lakers and other teams came to play for
Derek
the
Fisher?
Jazz.
No.
Derek Fisher, yeah. Derek Fisher? That's a
Yeah.
basketball guy. Who cares? Anyways,
Right.
came to
This
play
is
and
the Utah Jazz Nation.
yeah. They got their own thing. But yeah, he came to play and then he had to leave because his kid was sick. And I think that the doctor where his kid had to go was in New York.
Oh,
So we let them out of the contract because, good guy Larry.
right. I
was
mean, you're not going to
alive
make a
back
guy.
then.
You're not going to make a guy stick around for.
Then he moved to LA.
Right. There is that, and
So
it was
completely
Derek
opposite.
Fisher. It was Derek Fisher.
It was Derek Fisher. He
Yeah.
moved to LA. The doctor he told us he had to leave because his doctor was in New York, and then he went to LA. Anyways, that's
So I
a
guess
little
what
more
you're trying to
serious.
say
That's a
is
kid.
dying to use that. Just dying.
I like it. All right, that's enough. Enough about cancerous dogs and burritos. Burritos. I'm glad he left. I think he was a very, very good player. Very good on the ball. Extremely
Right.
skilled on the ball. But what, you have like 8 goals last year? 1.2 or whatever million he was making. You need more than eight goals. And even Kassar realized he wasn't good enough. That's why I kept pulling him. It seemed like he was either completely on or completely off.
Yeah, definitely. Things could not have worked out any other way than the way in which they did work out.
And I'm glad they did, especially if he finds someone worth the money. Enough about Burrito now. Seriously, on to RSL signed Chad Barrett and Mr. David Horst.
Yeah, so I
It was
think as of
official today, right? Officially,
as of right now, both of these are official. I think
it's
David
been
Horst.
unofficially official for days.
Right. I
Right.
think right now, it like as of a couple hours ago, both have become officially official, like team announcements.
You mean super official?
Like the people who run the club are like, guys, it's legit. It's legit.
It's a done deal.
Checks out. Checks out, bro.
Any news on what we're paying?
I don't think so. That's usually in this league, need to know information that apparently no one needs to know.
Yeah. Except when they release it once a year when no one cares anymore.
Right.
So what are they? What does it mean? What do they do? I mean, Chet Barrett
Well, I mean-
they're both 31 years old. right?
They're both 31 years old. They're your kind of, I mean, I don't want to lump them, but they're your like journeymen, veterans with tons of experience. It's I think you're looking at good veteran signings that provide a little depth, give you some options on the bench, compete for first team minutes, but don't necessarily make or break the team. And I think specifically don't break the bank. I think as this news was coming out, a lot of RSL fans got super super excited, and not to take away from Mr. Barretts and Horst, but I think the hype was maybe just a little higher than I think
Are we
what
just
we can
desperate?
expect.
Are we just,
I think we're desperate for news. We got this Landy Cakes thing just dangling over our heads, and in the meantime, we got to make
what?
do with.
I didn't even hear about this. What am I missing? This
Yeah,
is where you use the sound effects. Too late.
nailed it.
I don't care
No,
anymore.
that was perfect time.
Keep going.
Perfect time. No, but I think realistically, I think what signings like this do is they give you depth for games that aren't MLS Cup games. So I'm specifically talking about the U.S. Open Cup here. It's you have these veteran options that can get minutes, get the job done, and you have alrighty, get the job done, and maybe not win the U.S. Open Cup, but definitely make some inroads. At least that's my takeaway from these types of signings.
Yeah, I think they'll definitely come in handy during these 3 games in 9 days and 2 games in 6 days stretches. Right? There were times last year when the drop off between our top lineup and the second lineup was drastic. I mean, drastic.
Oh, absolutely.
I remember there were games I totally was in favor of playing Phillips as a forward, DeMar Phillips, because that's how depleted we seemed at that time. And I think these guys can definitely come in handy. You have that midweek game where it's away, it's at a tough team, sandwiched between 2 must-win home games. You play these guys, you get a point on the road, beautiful, but you don't start your Ura 3 games in 9 days or something silly like that and risk injury. I think they can come in handy. And veteran leadership in the back is always good. Can always be good.
Yeah, it's you definitely have the group of kind of the young guys back there that might just need somebody to learn from. But I think also it provides some options on the bench. I remember for a lot of the 2016 season, it's we'd be chasing a goal or it'd be 0-0, and it's kind of the dying third of the game, and there was unless they had like Javi on the bench for some weird reason or something, there was rarely a time where Cassar pulled somebody that I was like, oh, I'm excited to see how this turns out. There wasn't an option to save the game for me on the bench. I'm not trying to take away from Garcia or take away from what he contributed to the club, but there was never a sub that I was like, this guy's going to get us some goals.
Mm-hmm. What was your homeboy's name that was there a couple of years ago?
Velasquez.
Velasquez is back.
Rufio. Yeah, that was quite the signing in my opinion. I mean, he was one of those guys that when I first started watching the team. Yeah, I just kind of dated myself here for most of the fan base. When I first started watching the team, it's Jason Kreis at the time, like that was his boy, right? Like he would would be chasing a goal, and he had that hustle that was just contagious. Like he would chase those dead balls that everyone else was, thought they were gone, and he'd put them back in the box, and every once in a while something came of it. Like, I think it brings that caliber excitement. He did. The kid's good. I think he, not to get too deep on this thing, I think he made some mistakes that, I think somebody of his youth at the time was going to make. I think he battled some personal demons. I think most of the fan base is pretty familiar with his story. I am hoping that he kills it at the Monarchs, and by the summer, he's getting first team call ups.
We're gonna do a whole show on this kid. This kid has an incredible story that involves Barcelona.
Yeah,
Did you know that?
yeah. For kind of ended up screwing him in the end there.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah,
not
didn't
really.
work out. Not the first guy that Barcelona screwed. Anyways, long story short, we'll cover that one another time. But overall, you agree with me? They're decent signings. They're there
Yeah,
to get the job done. They're not going to
absolutely.
win us the league. They're not going to win us anything. But they are going to come in at the time and, if nothing else, bring the game home when we need it. Step in when we have long stretches of games. Step in during injuries. And
Absolutely.
who knows? Maybe bring in an extra body or two at late in the game when you just need a goal. You just need to win, or
So
don't want to
all we
concede
ask,
a goal. Either side. Good
we do
signings.
have good signings. Absolutely.
Good solid signings. All right, let's move on. Preseason started when?
Today is the
Today.
magical time when things are back in action.
Isn't it like? Doesn't it feel like first part of December? It's like Thanksgiving is over. um, It's not Christmas yet. It's too early to get too excited about it. But finally, Thanksgiving is over. So, this big stretch of time where everyone tells you you're not supposed to get excited about Christmas because we haven't even had Thanksgiving yet is over. And now you can light up your Christmas tree or whatever you do with a Christmas tree these days and not have everyone stare at you. Right? It's proper exciting. It's early December pre Christmas, in my opinion. There's just something like there's actual real soccer being played by real players in RSL jerseys right now in Casa Grande or something.
Yeah, we can actually get into that right now. It's they are in Casa Grande. So the preseason is broken out into 3 segments, and segment 1 takes place down in Tucson, Arizona. So the team actually traveled down there today. It looks like in
Today being
January 23rd. Thank you.
Monday, January 23rd.
So this coming Saturday, they have a little intra-squad scrimmage, and they'll be traveling to Tucson. I imagine this is them just kind of, hanging out with the academy kids and just, playing a little. I don't think this is going to be like, let's get the blood pumping. Nothing too exciting.
Are they not playing that tournament? The Desert
Uh,
Diamond Cup?
no, we'll get into that when we get to segment 2, but still in segment 1, so don't get ahead of yourself.
Proceed.
Then Tuesday, January 31st, is the first actual game. RSL will be playing the New York Red Bulls, and I think this is part of. So I know that they have the Desert Diamond Cup thing broken out into like 2 segments, and I think this is the first segment that doesn't actually count for the cup. And then Friday,
a preseason cup.
A preseason cup. It's your standard go-to these days.
Yeah.
It's standard MLS fare. Friday,
Very
February 3rd.
non-committal.
Yeah, just testing the waters. Friday, February 3rd, RSL will be playing San Jose in Tucson. I imagine that a lot of these games will actually have live streams, maybe on Facebook, maybe on YouTube. It's something that I know we're going to try to share and get to the people and get out there. But I mean, that's kind of your standard segment 1. Segment 2 is actually new this year. They will be traveling up to Portland for a tournament that is being hosted up there, and they will be doing.
That
those
should be fun.
Yeah, it's. I think it's the competition, the level of competition in this Portland Timbers, preseason tournament. I think is a little higher, maybe a bit more fast paced than the Desert Diamond Cup. They'll be traveling to Portland on February 7th. 2 days later, they face the Timbers. So that'll be February 9th. February 12th, they play the Vancouver Whitecaps. And then February 15th, which is a Wednesday, will be RSL's first game against Minnesota United. So it'll be nice to kind of see what that side looks like. And then that following day, that Thursday, February 16th, they come back to good old Utah. And then the third segment consists of them traveling to Irvine, California, where they will face the Galaxy on February 21st. And then 4 days later, they have a game that is yet to be decided against who the opponent will be. If history's any indicator, I imagine it's going to be a college team or something, just kind of a,
It's going to be in San Diego. That last
It's
game.
going to be in. I think they're still in Irvine at this point. Actually, in Carson.
Still Irvine.
Carson.
Oh.
And then February 26th, they return to Utah, and then 6 days later, we have our regular season opener against Toronto. So I mean, it's going to be a pretty action-packed, couple weeks here. Not a lot of downtime between now and that first, real MLS Cup or MLS game kickoff.
This whole time you're talking, I keep thinking, isn't it cold in Portland in March?
Yeah, but I think it's the rainy, cold. It's not like, I know right now everything is under a sheet of ice up there, but I think by March it's just wet. Not really a showstopper, I think.
But it's not March, it's February, isn't it?
February, right. Well, I mean, we have all of the world's information at our disposal. Let's go Portland weather February. Between 34 and 39 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's 1 to 4 degrees Celsius for our...
Plenty warm. Plenty warm.
Yeah. It's, you wear your nice Adidas tracksuit and you'll be just fine. And when it's time to run, you run.
So what you're saying is March will be here in no time.
March is coming up. There's plenty to keep us busy between now and then.
Plenty podcasts to do, plenty information to share, plenty information to be learned.
Absolutely.
Hey, guess what? We talked this whole time without mentioning whom.
Landy Cakes?
Well, you just ruined it, but yes. No, we did mention him earlier.
I was gonna say your memory is less than ideal.
Selective. My memory is selective.
Man, I'm done. Honestly, at this point, even if they sign the guy, I think I'm just gonna be I'm emotionally drained. It's all right,
I'm
cool.
Just gonna, refresh. Just refresh the browser. See if he's there yet. Let me check. Nope, not here yet. All right, we'll see what happens tomorrow. All right. Hey, quick question.
Mm-hmm.
Do you care about the preseason? I always thought it was rated.
Yeah, it's. I mean, I think it's nice to just see some guys get some minutes and see some soccer after this long break. But as far as the actual outcomes of the games, it's absolutely not. That being said, one of our biggest and fiercest rivalries started at a preseason game against SKC.
That's right.
That whole thing kicked off over a game that didn't matter, and here we are several years later with essentially a whole new cast of players, and the rivalry is as strong as ever. So I don't know, maybe Rusnak decides to throw down in Portland. I don't know, maybe he takes out a couple of Vancouver guys. It's stranger things have happened.
It's always good to win. I love seeing them win preseasons just to get it in their heads that winning isn't expected. It's expected, right. Especially for someone like David Hurst, right? Guy just came from Houston. He hasn't won in a minute, right? Hey, I think he would feel good.
I don't know, man. I don't know. That Houston side was doing us some favors at the end of last year. They kind of fell apart.
They also beat us.
They did, but then they also beat it to precede some key opponents in key times. I remember being like, "Come on, Houston, you got multiple times thinking you gotta get a tie here for us or at least a win." And they kept us in the playoff talks, I think, a lot longer than we deserved.
I kind of wish they had in hindsight, but hey, thanks, Houston.
That goes on.
Anyways, I think a guy like that, he'll take a FIFA PlayStation win right now, man. The guy hasn't won in a minute.
Yeah, I mean, it's.
I think it's good to get him started, get him understanding that winning is expected.
Right, just the muscle memory of putting, the ball into the back of the net in a competitive setting alone is worth something.
Yeah, I've put a lot of them away. Still have my muscles haven't memorized the damn thing yet.
That's just me and the pros.
Ah, all right, man.
Okay.
I think that's all we're gonna have for today. I'd like to thank everyone for joining us. Till next time, suckers.
Don't